let this shit slide and get your lick back. And get your lick back. Get your lick back. If a nigga owe you something, ain't no chit chat. Better stay up out the way, don't get your issue splat. Stop letting this shit slide and get your lick back. And get your lick back. I feel like I'm JX. J-Way. I'm a perfectionist. Adderall got me restless. I'm gone. Run with a wild crew, they get reckless. Young boy, come up off that neck. Give me that. To the trends. See you, Lee, be the band.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of Corner to Copa. We are live from the Motor City celebrating a Dream Cruise weekend. For all my people out of town that don't know about the Woodward Dream Cruise, do your Googles. That is the biggest car show or the biggest assortment of vehicles in the entire United States, in the entire world, maybe. On the first paved road in all of the first paved road in the United States, at least the world. That's the number one highway, Woodward Avenue. I'm right off of it, so I was in the thick of things. I know Coach was out there in the mix of things, but this show is about the Detroit Tigers. They were not in town enjoying those festivities. They've been on the road all week. Coach, how you feeling today?
Hey, yeah, I know it's we've only had one loss this week, but man, I feel like I kind of set it up at the end of last week's show, calling the rest of these games fight them out, claw them out, because it's exactly how it's felt. We've won some close ones, some low scoring ones, kind of surprisingly, considering the other issues we've had. So, but we'll take them. Troy Melton with a nice bounce back start, very promising. And we've had some this series with Minnesota so far has had some back and forth with some interesting plays, some questionable plays too. Nothing to add a little bit of spice to the entertainment side, but yeah, we are staring down the barrel of a potential 4-game sweep heading in this afternoon.
Absolutely. The Tigers are 73-52. They are 8.5 up on the Guardians, who have lost 2 of 3 to the Atlanta Braves. So we appreciate the Braves for doing their portion. But yeah, the Tigers, surprisingly, a lot of people probably don't realize it, in the last 19 games are 13-6. We had 2 road series against divisional opponents. We won 2 of 3 against the Chicago White Sox. And like you said, we are possibly in a position to sweep the Minnesota Twins, who, well, yeah, we're faring a lot better than we did last time. I think we lost 2 of 3 at home against Minnesota. And this is all with Byron Buxton back in the lineup. Riley Green, we've done a pretty good job against Mr. Buxton. Riley Green robbed him of a home run, or at least extra bases, crashing into the wall. But yeah, honestly, what's been most impressive to me has been the pitching efforts. Like you said, Troy Melton had a one-hit effort. He went five innings the other day. We got the return of Sawyer Gipson-Long, who also I think had just 1 hit in his in his return to action. Charlie Morton, who was more, I guess back in the day, obviously he's a sinker ball pitcher and a ground ball guy. He went by Ground Chuck. That was his nickname. His name is obviously Charlie, and he was getting those ground balls. So Ground Chuck, I actually like that. Casey Mize had a 10 strikeout effort last night. Finnegan remains perfect in save opportunities. And Montero, we had a couple nail biters against Minnesota this week. Yesterday was, I think we ended up winning by 3 runs, but we, blew a lead in the middle of the game and got back into it. But Montero had a couple. We went into extra innings, and I think the first game of the Minnesota series, and Montero went pitched in the last 2 innings and was able to hold the Minnesota Twins down. But yeah, a lot of the pitching has really been the standout for me this week. Chris Paddock bounced back, and Charlie Morton, who struggled in his previous start, got back on the right side of things as well. So What other observations did you see from the team this week?
Will Vest has had back-to-back good appearances. Now we're kind of seeing what that 1-2 punch looks like on the back end with Finnegan and Vest. When Vest is confident, we'll say. Finnegan's been the one guy really in the last couple weeks that has really helped band-aid this bullpen during this kind of revamping and reshuffling, if you will. So that's been really good to see. He's had a multiple inning save and appearances, I think 2 or 3 times already. So he's showing some dexterity or longevity in terms of being able to go maybe even 30, 40 pitches if need be. We're on a stretch here where, they're going to play him 13 games in 13 days. So he has been needed in every single appearance so far. Aside from that, man, the offense right now continues to be carried by a collection of Carpenter, Dingler, and at times it's kind of been traded off between Torque and Riley with the home run, some of the extra power. And I think additionally, there was one other guy. Colt Dingler and Carey. Colt just had a birthday recently too. I think he did hit one. I think it was the day after his birthday. He had a home run. He drove in runs on his birthday too. And Dingler just continues to be a professional hitter. I know I sent you that screenshot the other day of his numbers, both offensively and defensively, and he damn near ranks in the top 5 in every single one. And I kind of low-key put it out there in our group text. I'm like, this guy, maybe into my dad, I'm like, I see he's a top 5 catcher in my opinion. He's got top 5 stuff, and he's hitting 274, I think it was, and he's been consistently the top 5, even top 3 hitter on the team just for average alone, stripping everything else aside. And he continues to hold the run game down. So, hopefully when Parker comes back, Bierling get a little extra boost, but those guys have been the key around the bats.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with this. The guys that have kind of carried us offensively. Green has hit 250 this week. Still striking out a ton, but he hit 250 with 2 home runs and 6 RBIs. Carpenter the same, 269 with 2 home runs and 6 RBIs. Both those guys have struck out 6 times, which is about once per game. And obviously Carpenter doesn't play every day, so. But nonetheless, getting the job done in the middle of the lineup. Torkelson has hit 292 this week, and Dingler hitting 300 with 1 home run and 6 RBIs. I want to say he had, I think, 3 apiece in a couple of different games. Just steady, just a steady presence. Obviously, doing a good job of calling games and holding runners as well. Cole Keith quietly gets the job done. He actually scored a run. I think he scored the game-winning run, pinch running in that extra inning game. But he's hit 261 with 1 home run and 4 RBIs. And Jahmai Jones, just we had kind of talked about we'll see how long he hangs around, and he's struggling as of late. And yesterday he had a couple big hits. Once against a lefty and once against a righty. He's not very good against righties, but he got the job done yesterday. I think he ended up with a couple RBIs. So, one more thing, Trey Sweeney. I think he's been up about a week. I think Vierling was out on a Sunday. I think he was when he went on the IL. But he was strong that first game of that first game back, and then I think he had a couple hits in the game yesterday. So. Everybody doing their part. The offense, can be frustrating at times. We talked about it off air. Sometimes we get them in bunches. I think the first inning we jumped all over somebody in Minnesota and had like 5, and then I think we only managed a couple more runs the rest of the game and had to hold on to it. But an interesting stat that I saw yesterday, and this may be kind of obvious, but we're 4-4. 40-4 when we reach 10 hits, which, for the most part, if you get 10 hits, you're gonna, it's a good recipe for success. But it just goes to show that when you can piece together a bunch of hits and you're not focusing on just hitting the big bomb, the team, our particular team is going to be in a good position to win. So, we're a team that I think we rank pretty high in OPS, because we like to hit the long ball. We strike out a lot, but, when we can manufacture runs, we're in a good position. What is MSU Detroit fan says Minnesota, and he blanked out the got T, then blank, blank, blank S. So,
I don't know.
But yeah. So, and I think another stat that they said that when we take a lead into either the 8th or 9th inning, we're undefeated. So I know we've blown some leads, but somehow one way or another, we've done a good job of closing games out when we take the lead later on into it. But and of course, Mr. Finnegan has been a big part of that. I thought it was interesting that one game he pitched like the 7th inning, or he wasn't I think it was the day that we ended up going into extras. But we know that Hinch doesn't like to label guys as closer. He just puts them in where he feels comfortable or in the most high leverage situations as possible. But I was really, I think that guys like Paddock, Morton had another. He really had his curveball going the other day. I think that's the game that we ended up shutting them out 7-0. But I think that guys like Paddock and Morton are going to be up and down a lot. We're not going to get great performances from them all year, but it was really nice to see Paddock, Morton, and Montero all play well in that this week. MSU Detroit fan says we haven't had a massive bullpen collapse since the first game of the Philly series. Yeah. Absolutely. We've kind of held things down. Coach, any other words before we get into our first break?
Yeah, I saw that the 9th inning homer that Torkelson hit, that was his first career home run to take a lead in the 9th inning in his career. So, okay. Yeah. So I know we've talked in his collection about his inability to be clutch, and he's been more of clutch as of the last 365 days or so, but that was interesting. And quickly, I was calculating this just because we knew the other day, last night, it was bad. Runners in scoring position, a men on base. That game alone, they were 4 of 21 with runners in scoring position, and they left a whopping 14 runners on first. And I put it in our group chat, we were up 2-3-0, but we went the 3rd inning with 2 on, 1 out, scored 1 run, and then we had the bases loaded out in the 5th inning, and we got nothing out of that. And I was just thinking to myself, you know what, God, if we somehow can't come out with Mize' start with the lead, despite being up 3-0 and having those opportunities, this is the kind of thing that haunts me as someone that wants this team to, we all do want them to win the World Series, but we understand there are certain identifiers that the better teams, the elite teams that year just tend to put out better, and that's runners in scoring position, guys on base, being able to deliver and really put the hurt down and not let a team potentially hang around. And sure enough, that's what happened. Casey Mize gave up a walk, a hit. Next thing you know, a 3-run or 2-run double, then a home run, and next thing you know, the lead's gone in the blink of an eye. But collectively, this week, heading into this afternoon's last game, they hit 187 against the White Sox with runners in scoring position, 3 for 16, and left 23 on base in 3 games. And so far through 3 with Minnesota, they are hitting 216 with 24 left on base, still with 1 game to play. But they've cashed in a few more opportunities in the Twin Series. So hopefully that is a trend that continues, because delivering with those guys on base means the bottom third of the lineup doesn't have to be as reliant.
Yeah, yesterday was interesting. How do I say? Well, I remember the one instance where the bases were loaded, which McKinstry statistically is not very good with runners in scoring position, despite having a great year. But he hits they had the run, they have the infield in because they know that their runs are coming at a premium. The Twins are. But it played to their advantage because that line drive that he hit, that where Perez gets doubled off, like it was, the aligning just happened to work in their favor. So it was a bit of bad luck because it was a hard hit ball by McKinstry, but the defense just played it perfectly. But what was tricky is that that obvious that normally when a starter has to sit on a bench for long periods of time in between innings, it's like it's a catch-22. Like that, it usually means that the team is scoring a lot of runs. So it's like, so that plays into their favor. But what ended up happening is we ended up just getting a bunch of runners on, not getting any runs. So the starting pitcher is just sitting there, but also not reaping the benefits of the extra runs. I think the commentators were kind of keeping track of how many actual pitches the Twins guys had to go through, and it was like 200 plus pitches. So it was a boatload of pitches, but we weren't getting a lot of runs at first. I mean, we ended up getting 8 when it was all said and done. So we eventually did get things together. But as I look at the statistics, the Tigers are top 5 in runners with left on base, which it's kind of a deceptive stat, because that also means that you're getting a lot of hits, you're getting a lot of walks, and having a lot more opportunities to leave guys on. But yeah, yet and still, you need. It's part of the reason why we've gone through some lows of not scoring a lot of runs, because that has been something that has haunted us from last year. I think overall we've been better about that because guys like Torres and Dingler have been so good. But it's all about timing. Let's check out these comments. We're gonna take our first break. We've had bad bullpen games, but I consider a collapse is when we have the lead and they make us lose the game. Yeah, for sure. Jason Benetti summons a home run. Yep, that was this week. I think it was Carpenter that hit the home run.
Torkelson, that was that game winner one.
You said what?
It was a Torkelson homer, I thought.
Gotcha. Yeah, you might be right about that. Yeah. That sounds right. Alois Cobb almost here. Coach, do you want to?
They just, we'll get into that, but they just sent him back out again for rehab for like the 3rd attempt. So again,
yeah. Yeah. I don't know what to make of that. But let's. He said, "Yeah, it was Torque home run against White Sox." Yep. Had some rainy days in the Midwest. We've had some late games, of course, because they're in Central Time, which is extended the night for sure. But yeah, we've had a couple rainy days as well. Let's get to the first break, and then we will get into the rosters. All right, Coach, take it away.
Yeah, so finally for once and feels like forever, very limited injury report altogether. On the 13th, Sawyer Gipson-Long came off the IL to pitch, and they demoted Cody Heuer, who had made his debut uneventfully, unfortunately, earlier in the week. And then the next day, Alex Cobb formally restarted his rehab. They sent him back out. They didn't say whether he was going to Toledo or West Michigan. I assume West Michigan. And they recalled Bailey Horn. In an interesting move, they also went ahead and just sent SGL back down to Toledo. I think some of the comments were not understanding why that was the case. Sure, he can't be called back up again for 10 days as a result, unless there's an injury or rain out for that extra man. So people were kind of confused about that, but he wasn't going to pitch in the next day or two, at least after pitching 40, 50 pitches in his 3-4 innings. So expect him to come back at some point too when they need him. It's just kind of the chess moves that the Hinch has been making in terms of being able to have usage of every single 26 guys available to him on a given day. So that's pretty much it. Nothing formally in terms of any of the rehab stuff. Some of the stuff they post just continues to, growing, running, some hitting. So Parker, as far as we know, still hasn't been sent out for rehab. So it does look like he may not be ready until possibly near the end of the month, which is a little bit later than we had hoped for. But since he hasn't been sent out yet, they usually sent, 7 to 10 days are usually down there roughly. They get him through some DH and then they field for a few games and then make sure he's good after that. But that's it otherwise.
All right, let's get to MSU Detroit fan. He said, "Yeah, I was okay, I got some." Oh, he said the Central Time BS. Yeah, it's annoying. It's only 1 hour. Don't need an 8 p.m. start. I agree. And I think even on Fridays, it's a little bit later so that people can kind of get off work and stuff like that too. He said Trey Sweeney is apparently now Sydney Sweeney's brother. Yeah, I'm sure he loves that. But yeah, let's get into the around the farm. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of hot bats down there. Trey Cruz, who has been promoted from AA Erie to Toledo, hit a walk-off grand slam this week. Kevin McGonigal, probably the hottest bat in all of baseball right now. He hit 2 home runs the other day. He hit a go-ahead home run the day after that. And then on Saturday, yesterday, he hit a home run as well. He's hitting a home run about every other day right now. Max Anderson, another player that was promoted from AA to AAA, has swung a hot bat. He's pretty much flirted with the 400 average since he's been in Toledo. He's hit a couple bombs as well. Jace Young was originally on a 17-game on-base streak. I don't know if he still has that. Isaac Pacheco down in West Michigan hit 2 home runs on Wednesday and then hit another one on Friday. Jake Holton hit a home run on Friday, and Max Clark hit a couple home runs as well. One was in a game where Erie was being blown out. I guess there was some guy kind of chirping at him. I'm assuming they were probably on the road at this point, but there was some guy that was kind of giving him a hard time, so he kind of pimped a home run, but we were down like 17-6. So, we know that Mr. Clark has a lot of haters, and he's a fiery guy, and he, took exception to whatever was being said, and got an opportunity to kind of show him up. But yeah, Kevin McGonigal, he is just on fire. Like originally, it was more just the contact, the bat, the ball, but he is starting to hit home runs at a insane rate. And, we've kind of been hearing about this since probably last year, but I think people are going to be really in a stir, especially as the team has kind of been up and down offensively. I think that people are going to really take exception if he's not one of the September call-ups, but we will see. I don't know. Max Anderson. My brother is a big proprietor for Max Clark, but I'm like, there's another Max that might possibly get that look before Mr. Clark, and because that jump, he had an amazing, jump from last year to this year, and he's got the AAA and made it look even easier. So. He's another guy to keep an eye on that could possibly get that look in September. And Detroit fans as we'll see it. He said, well, since Players Weekend, they are using the guys' nicknames when posting the lineups on Facebook. Trey Sweeney's nickname is apparently Sydney. Yeah. Matt Clark already sounds like a Detroit guy. Yeah. He's definitely gonna bring that fire when he gets here. Kevin McGonigal is listed as a shortstop, but what other positions can he play? He can definitely play second. I want to say that's the position that I think athletically, I think he's more suited at that position. He's not super athletic. He's about 5'10", close to 2 bills. Wondering unless they decide to keep Javi in the outfield, I don't think McGonigal will be the shortstop. No, yeah, it's going to be tricky finding him unless I don't think he's played much third base this year, but I think that would be the best spot for him right now. And then especially with Sweeney playing well right now, there just may not be a spot for him because Torres is obviously having a good year as well. So, but Coach, any thoughts on these prospects or the call-ups or anything like that?
I mean, they've been promoted as a result of their production and their improvement on their tools and really, trying to become a well-rounded ball player. So it's not like these are forced or weird, call-ups or promotions. Like these guys have earned it every bit of the way. It's not out of need or attrition or, oh crap, we lost so-and-so and so-and-so. It's for the rest of the year. And now we don't really have many other options, because this team could, not to put that out there, but, I'll put it this way. With the amount of call-ups that we've had going back even to the second half of last year as well, there aren't too many names that in Toledo left that we haven't seen already. So the next up in line, if the organization doesn't think those guys that are, the additional ball players around them in Toledo are worthy of it, well, then these guys would essentially be the next ones up, because that's the only other thing that makes sense if it comes to it. But like you said, it would have to be a very sudden and unusual circumstance that all of a sudden, has a spot of need. Like, hey, we need, 2/3, 75% of your game time, is going to be on there. You're going to be out there in the field. So it's possible, but it's unlikely, again, unless it's something crazy that happens. Because Baez is pretty much going to be playing 2 out of 3 games, whether it's short and center. McKinstry is going to be playing damn near every game just because he's so flexible. But yeah, hey, if he can play third, that solves a problem too. But that's kind of an off-season question for McGonigal.
Yeah, we've had a lot of injuries in the outfield, not so much in the infield. So it hasn't allotted a lot of opportunities for promotions in that way. But yeah, we'll see. They tend to figure these things out. We've obviously had a lot of injuries and moving pieces in the pitching category as well. Is wondering since unless they decide to keep Javi in the outfield, I don't think McGonigal will be a shortstop. No, yeah, he's going to be. I think the position that he'll land long term will be second base, which could be to the demise of an extension from Gleyber Torres, which I think the fan base might be torn about that, depending on how they feel about Torres, but he has been for a good amount of our year, our most consistent player. Maybe not our best overall, but consistent for sure. So second base, that's going to be hard also, unless we don't want to keep exactly. We don't want to keep Gleyber, because we also have Cole Keith who can play second base as well. Just throwing that out there. Hayuli is a guy I'm still wondering on for Toledo call-up. Yeah, I mean, Lee has seen a little bit of a decline, has had an up and down season this year. And, lo and behold, the other second base / third baseman, Max Anderson, has come right in and outplayed Hayuli. So he's another guy that probably could have got traded for a piece at the deadline, with the amount of depth we have at that position. Because now you look at it, you got Lee, you got Anderson, and technically you got McGonigal as well. So you got a lot of guys that could play second base next year comfortably. But let's get to the next break, and then we're going to talk around the league. Any news for us around the league?
Yeah, man, the Milwaukee Brewers refuse to lose. They've won 13 straight games. They've actually this month alone, actually going back to their July, the last week or so of July, they've had 2 winning streaks of 9 games or more in the last 3 weeks. So that tells you how good they are right now. They are tracking down the number 1 seed for the NL as well, and they're up there right now for the overall league title for the regular season. Texas has fallen off a bit. They are barely hanging on in the back end of the wild card hunt. They continue to have issues with offense and inconsistencies with pitching, despite Jacob deGrom having a phenomenal year for them. Some might say comeback player of the year. But Detroit, Toronto continue to slowly build their lead as the two mainstays for the AL #1 seed. Houston has kind of fallen back a little bit as Seattle has continued to stay hot, who are now challenging them for the division. They've been tied or have taken the lead. San Diego, too, is also at one point around the week caught the Dodgers for the NL West lead. So now the Padres have really come out of their shell here. They're on fire as well. So a lot of things happening around the league so far. But I did also want to briefly circle back to your Gleiber Colt there discussion, also along with the MSU Detroit fan. And let me I'll put this out there real quick. I'm going to put out just a couple of stat lines. I'm going to ask you which one is which player. All right. It's only going to be Gleiber or Colt. All right. So we've got 261 average, 759 OPS, 13 home runs. We have 261 average, 762 OPS, and 10 home runs.
I think Torres has more home runs this year.
Yeah, because I wasn't going to put the RBIs. It would have made it a bit more. Gleiber's got 58 and Colt only has 37, but Colt's pretty much been the leadoff guy for the last 2 months. But yeah, this is why I kind of don't really know. I don't think I'd be sold on giving Gleiber an extension. If these are going to be the year-end numbers, you're already paying Colt $6 million a year guaranteed to do the same thing pretty much that Gleiber's giving you. In my opinion, I think Colt's a little bit better defender, so I don't know why you would pay that much money into one position.
Yeah. Gleiber right now. Gleiber's on another little slump, I think.
He's hitting.
They're both on base guys. Colt takes his walks. He's younger. He's probably just hasn't played as much as Torres. I think that would be the only thing that
he took a back seat and signed him naturally. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And Colt can play first, second, third. Probably could play corner outfield in a pinch. So, and he's a much stronger base runner as well. So, yeah, I think, that puts things in perspective unless he just gave us some just sweet deal, which wouldn't make much sense for a guy that's trying to get that last bag. I think somebody would go out. I think somebody would overpay for a guy like him. So, yeah, especially, and then with the comments that we got coming up that we're going to read, I think that it probably makes sense to part ways with him. So hopefully we can get him a ring this year. MSU Detroit fan says if Bryce Rainier wasn't injured, there will be also another piece in the infield. Yes, another guy that will probably be able to, because we all know that shortstops can play pretty much anywhere. That's another elite guy in our top 5 prospect pool. He said, unless we still consider Jace Young an elite prospect, we don't. I think that he's no longer it. I think he's played enough professional games to where he doesn't rank. But he says, I think the Tigers extending Gleyber will basically be based off of the Tigers are confident that McGonigal will make the team out of spring training. Yeah, I mean, I think that even if for some strange reason McGonigal is not our starter, is not a starting infielder somewhere, I think that we probably still have enough guys between Ibanez, Colt, Torque, Vierling. We got enough guys to go around to where you don't sweat that. And I don't see Gleyber taking another 1-year prove-it deal. That would make no sense for him. Great for us, but would make no sense for him. He says, because if McGonigal can play the team out of spring training, then we can have McGonigal play second, Cole play third, and then obviously Baez and Sweeney, platoon, if we choose to go that route. And your boy Torque is getting re-signed this year. All right, Coach. Any other thoughts to that Torres situation?
Yeah, it was funny because I did pull some numbers. I knew he'd been in a little bit of a slump, and it's been slow since July 1st. He's hitting only 220 as a whole. Something like 18 for 100 something. But 250 in July, not bad, but it was the lowest average month he's had so far this year. And right now for August, he's hitting $175. So it has been a slow decline. He's still getting some timely hits, but we've kind of seen a little bit of an uptick in his some of his ground ball outs and his strikeouts. So I don't know if it's just the season of how much we've relied on him, needing him in the lineup to help buoy some of the other injuries we've had. He certainly has played a lot of games, and he's been nicked up once or twice. Nothing too severe, but I'm hoping it's not him just slowing down as we get into the end of the dog days of summer. But he's been a constant for us the first 3 months. Like you said, he was delivering big hits in that 2 to 3 spot. We're going to need him in the playoffs, that's for sure. We got there with him, mostly on his back in the first half, along with Baez and Torkelson, who had great first 30 to 75, 80 days, whatever it was, long enough to be in the limelight for the All-Star contention. So we're going to need those guys down the stretch, but especially Gleyber. And to your point too, that you mentioned the first month or so, just the way he's really kind of helped reshape the clubhouse, or given a little bit of zest, if you will, now that he's a veteran guy to these younger core guys.
Absolutely. MC Detroit Van Beerling might be a risk also with Clark. Yeah, Beerling, I don't know. I think he's in a position now to where I don't know what his value would be to other teams, but yeah, he's not a long-term guy. He had a rough season, which you kind of feel bad about because he's been banged up the entire year. But I don't know. I think he's still somebody that we should probably trade. And yeah, I didn't even mention in all this Wenceel Perez. I mean, you just don't really. I mean, Perez literally does everything that Beerling can possibly bring to the table outside of play in the infield, but don't really need that. Yeah, he says unless they want Beerling over Perez. Yeah, not a chance, right?
The only way they hang on to him is basically just if they have team control. You know why? Because it's cheap that way. It's cheaper that way. So, and guess what? Perez is still young too, so he's not going anywhere. But again, Beerling I think is coming up soon. If not the end of this year, I think one more year of that. But to your point, if we needed to look at revamping the offseason and losing that last year of team control for Beerling, I think you say, you know what, another team's going to pick him up. They're going to give him a 1-2 year deal. He's going to be a McKinstry type player. He can play everywhere in the outfield, a little bit of third base. He still has some value. He's played in the playoffs. He's been on a deep run World Series team with the Phillies. So he's got more to bring than just a journeyman who just can't stick with a team. He's only had 2 teams in the last 5 years. So he's a locker room guy, a good teammate. So if it's not here, he's going to find another home. He's not, really at the end of his career, but unless he has a resurgence here shortly, yeah, maybe a few more years, but mostly utility bench guy.
All right. So he's got 2 more years of control. He doesn't become a restricted free agent until an unrestricted free agent until 2028. So they avoided arbitration this year and they agreed to a $3 million deal. So yeah, we don't technically have to do anything. We don't technically have to make any decisions, but eventually he's going to block Mr. Clark and Malloy and some of these younger guys that need, Clark not so much needing reps at the professional level, but certainly a Malloy.
Because Perez can play a little center, but he's not an everyday center. That's the problem. The corner outfielders we've got plenty of. It's the center field position we're having difficulty over the last 4 years, really going back to the other Meadows, inability to stay, I guess, present in the game, for lack of a better word. But yeah, we got plenty of quarter outfielders, as you've well noted, over the last year between up and also down on the farm. So
yeah, we do. Yeah, I didn't even think about Parker Meadows. What do you do there? Like, I don't know. He's just gonna have to come back, and he's gonna have to come back at the end of August and try to, find his sea legs again. And we just have to hope that he can bring something with the bat. We know he's gonna do defensively, but I don't know. All right,
yeah.
Let's get to the last break, and then we'll talk upcoming games. All right. We got a very important series coming up, but yeah, what's going on?
So yeah, after we close out the week-long road trip in Minnesota this afternoon, the Tigers return home for a full week starting on Monday against the Houston Astros, a potential other top 2 showdown for the number 1 AL seed. It will be Jack Flaherty Monday night against Arrighetti. Tuesday night will be Skubal against Brown. And the matinee on Wednesday will be Charlie Morton against Framber Valdez. Very good overall pitching matchups right there. So that'll be a very exciting set of games to see there. And then they finally get a day off, 13 games in 13 days. They get a breather before Kansas City comes to town for 3. So we go right back to the divisional saddle there. 3 series out of the 4 will be against division teams. Friday night will be Casey Mize against Berger. Saturday will be Paddock against Michael Wacha. And Sunday will be Jack Flaherty's second start of the calendar week against Seth Lugo. With a mini sneak peek to the following 2 series to end the month. There another road trip starting in Oakland for 3, followed with 3 more in Kansas City heading into Labor Day. That's right, Labor Day is coming up quick, folks.
Wow, yeah. And so, yeah, the number of divisional games is dwindling down. And, yeah, big series upcoming at home. Nice little consecutive streak of home games against Houston. I don't even know how they've been faring as of late, but yeah. We'll see. We'll see if Paddock and Morton can duplicate the efforts that they had this past week. The last time I said that, they kind of took a step back. So we'll try this again and see how that goes. But anything you're looking forward to for the upcoming week?
Yeah, that Astros series is going to be big. Obviously you still have to take care of business against Kansas City. Can't get caught looking ahead to the long week-long trip up, including which is really weird. They get 3 in Oakland and then 3 in Kansas City. They usually, when they make a second West Coast trip, it's usually like Oakland and Seattle, or right. Oakland and Texas. There's, a couple out that way. So a little unusual that way. But yeah, that's going to be what I'm really looking at now that they've kind of settled things down with the division again. They're up 2.5 more games since the start of the week, closer to that magic number 10. If they come in Monday up 9 games in the division, I think we're a little bit better breathable spot here. But we're already counting down. AL Central Championship magic number is 29 games with 38 remaining in a current 8.5 game lead. 29 is the magic number. Still half game behind Toronto for the number 1 overall seed, with Houston 3.5 behind Toronto, and 4.5 between Seattle and Boston. Wild card spots right now. Boston has the first spot, up 1.5 over Seattle, who's up 1.5 over New York, and Cleveland, Kansas City, and Fairleigh, Texas, hanging in the wild card hunt.
All right, yeah. So not Oakland, Sacramento A's. That'll be our last trip to the West Coast. The remaining road games will be on the East Coast. We got to go to New York. We got to go to Boston as well, and then we got Cleveland and Miami as well. to close out the year. And yes, the magic number is 29, and hopefully we can continue to get some help from everybody else. But the Tigers have been on a bit of a roll themselves, so we haven't had to depend so much on scoreboard watching. But we're going to do that regardless. But as we close out, I want to remind everybody to please subscribe to Bleachers and Speakers on YouTube. That is where you get the raw and uncut live footage as we are recording the show. And in addition to that, please subscribe to Corner to Copa on all audio aggregators. That is where you can find the audio side of things. We're everywhere: Spotify, Apple Podcast, and everywhere else. And parting words before we get up out of here, Coach.
Ooh, I feel like it's been 2 seasons in one with everything so far, but
we're more comfortable this year now. We were not 9.5 up in the division last year. It was sweating things out. So this is okay. Yeah. This is an okay feeling.
I think this time last year we're right in the middle of like McKinstry and Torque's like multi 10+ game hit streak stretch, as we were going from like 0.2 to 3% chance.
Yeah, right.
But man, yeah, it's every game has been an adventure with these guys. So just keep winning series. That's really all it comes down to. Don't take any of these guys for granted. Even the A's, Royals, Reds, like White Sox were a battle this week, so they're going to continue to be a thorn. But man, you got to start treating every game like a playoff game the rest of the way out here. Every single one matters, and look, they're still having fun doing it. So they're not really locked, seized up, if you will. They're ready to play.
Yeah, they're back having fun though. We had a little stretch where things were getting weird. The energy, the excitement, the fun wasn't there, but we got past that, and we're back in good standings right now. So let's keep that rolling, and we need to get some get back against the Astros, because they had our number back in I think that was April, maybe the end of April. So let's get up out of here.
Peace.
Get your lick back. If a nigga gon' do something, ain't no chit chat. Better stay up out the way, don't get your shit splat. Stop letting shit slide.